I'm Mint Salad and I saw Ip Man. It is directed by Wilson Yip, and this was a request by Patreon. If you'd like to fast track a movie request, you can fast track the request at this Patreon right here. And my exposure to this movie, very limited. I had no idea who he was. The only thing that I really knew about this before going into watching this movie is that this is based on the guy who trained Bruce Lee. And I know you know who Bruce Lee is, so this is a very important guy. This movie is full of the kickiness, all the punchiness, and all of the open hand palmingness, I guess. That's probably a good way to describe it. So if you haven't seen this movie, I'm going to spoil it for you. This movie starts with a friendly competition between Ip Man, who really hides his skill. He just kind of waits for Liu, that's the other master that he's having a competition with, a friendly fighting match with, and Liu just charges him, and Ip Man does all the defending and easily defeats him. And you have this kid who has his kite in the trees, and I'm like, that's kind of some poor flight kiting, some kite flying, that's some bad kite flying, that's no good. And he witnesses the defeat of Master Liu, because he is a martial arts instructor, and Ip Man is also not an instructor, but he is a master. He seems to be a grand master. He's really good at it. Wow. All the kickiness. I'm the movie starts with so much kickiness, and I'm wow, that's so awesome. In one, he's alright, well, I'm going to, share this with everyone. I'm gonna share this with everyone that can hear me. Hey, Ip Man, he defeated Liu. I don't know if I'm pronouncing their names right, but Liu, he's been defeated, and of course, news spreads. Then Liu is confronted hey, you have been defeated by Ip Man. It even gets to the point where just a whole crowd is just following this kid trying to get Ip Man and Liu to fight each other. He's I saw them fight, but that little kid's brother, his older brother, which will eventually be working in the mines with Ip Man, he's dude, why you gotta embarrass him? You want to see what's embarrassing? And then he takes his pants down, and I liked that part because it was oh, that is really embarrassing. That would really show him how embarrassing it is to have your martial arts skills be questioned by somebody who I don't even think knows martial arts very well. So I don't think he should be going around talking about how the master doesn't know as much as he should because he got defeated by a guy who's also incredibly good, by the way. He has a bunch of closed door competitions. Of course the public wouldn't know, but the public hears about Ip Man. It's amazing. There's a spider on my lens. Spider, get off of my lens! Okay. Now that spider is dealt with, I use my ninja powers on that spider. Then guess who appears? Jin. Jin, not spelled like the alcohol, but with a J. Jin. He's an ultra kung fu master. You don't even know this until he challenges Liu. He defeats Liu, and then he goes around to there's this whole strip of martial arts training areas, just a whole strip of them, and one by one he defeats all of the masters. And there's a student that goes and tells Ip about this, and Ip's I don't want to fight. But then it goes to him. The whole mob just shows up at Ip Man's house, and I love the wife. She's alright, Ip Man, please don't break any of my things. And when they're fighting, they do the fight. Obviously, I'd say they're evenly matched when Ip Man isn't trying. He's just alright, cool, foo, and he does injure him some. But then his son, I love this part, on a tricycle just rolls in. It's Mommy says if you don't start fighting, then all the things in the house are gonna be broken. And then he just actually starts fighting. Because while he wasn't fighting, a couple of vases were getting broken. And I was like, that's so rude, bad guy. But the bad guy did say, Jin did say that he was going to pay for those. So that is good, at least. And also, it's super fun. So while he takes out the knife, like a big old knife. I don't know what it's called, but it's definitely not a knife. It's like a machete. I think that's the proper term for it. Takes it out, and Ip Man has a beautiful quill with a bamboo, like a large bamboo stick on the end, and they fight with that, and guess who wins? Ip Man. There's a whole fight, it's a whole battle, and I'm just like, dude, this is awesome. All the kickiness is pretty amazing. I want more kickiness. Why isn't there more kickiness in any of my media that exists ever? Could you please give me more kickiness, such as Ip Man? So, beautiful ending. He defeats Jin. Jin leaves. Transition up to the sky. I like this transition. I even made a note of it. I was like, oh, that's a nice transition. From like the manor up to the sky. And then a bunch of planes like going through, and then bam! There's a screen. War. Looks like the Japanese has taken over. They've taken over their town, and now they're ruling it. And they made them impoverished. Then they even took his manor. Ip Man's manor is dilapidated. It's in crumbles. It's shambles. It's no good. And now he has to live in a place that is even a little bit more dilapidated. It's kind of like more. It's definitely. Rustic is probably the proper term I'd name it as. They're running out of rice, they're running out of valuables to sell for food. Ip Man has to go into the coals to make money, and guess who's back? The brother of Yuan, I think that's his name, the guy who embarrassed the master Liu. Guess who's here? It's him, and his name, his lovely name is Lin, and he misses his brother. He left after he was embarrassed, and I'm just thinking that's a little bit drastic. Leaving when you're embarrassed, but it could be a cultural thing. Maybe I don't quite understand. He's expressing, oh, where's my metal box? My metal box is gone. And he has left his metal box, and then, a couple of Japanese soldiers wander into the coal mines. Hey, the general would like to see some martial artists fight his soldiers. Who wants to volunteer? And of course, Lin volunteers, plus a couple others. There's a whole, like, area they're taken to. And Lin is asked to fight. And he does. And it's a whole bunch of, like, fighty kickiness. It's like 3 versus, like, 1 general. And the general's like, oh, I want to fight 3 of them. And I'll give him a bag of rice, win or loss. And I'm like, okay, guy, I guess, sure, if you really want to be super mean, you're just going to beat someone up because you want to. But you already have the skills, so you're not just training these guys. You just want to beat these guys up. Lin has not returned from the fights, even though he's promised a bag of rice. And would I fight for a bag of rice? I think I would. If I was really hungry, I would just be like, all right, just give me a bag of rice. I'll be friendly. I'll be good. Okay, even if I get beat up, I still want that rice to feed my family. And Ip Man, I feel like should have done that the first time, but he doesn't. But then when he notices that Lin hasn't come back, and he finds his metal box, he's like, where is Lin? Where is Lin? I don't see him. Where's my good old pal Lin? No one answers him. And so I assume he thinks that maybe he's dead. So next time that the Japanese soldiers come around, he's like, I volunteer. And then a bunch of people come and volunteer. Is now, not Ip Man's turn yet. He's kind of watching, but you have Liu. Hey, Liu's back. The master Liu that he was fighting earlier. He's like, all right, I'm gonna fight. I'm gonna fight 1 person. All right, cool. I won. I want to fight 3 people, please. And then he fights 3 people, and he gets beat up, and then he gives up. He's like, I'm done. And like tries to take the rice, right? And Sato, new character introduced, he is the general's, like, wingman, that's probably a good way to describe him. Oh man, this lunatic shoots him! And understandably, the general's like, why did you shoot him? That was very out of line. And he's like, well, he was about to take the rice even when he said he lost the rice, sir. And the general points his gun at him, points Sato's own gun at him, and is like, hey, you probably shouldn't do that. I'm like, you probably should have shot Sato then! But of course, it's hard to find people who are loyal to you as a general who aren't lunatics, so I guess he keeps them around. I guess he's also very effective. And of course, a good old pal, Ip Man. I want to fight 10 people. So he starts to fight 10 people, and there's a whole kickiness scene. It's awesome. He, like, starts by, like, one by one, like, people are attacking him. But he's, like, also fighting several people at once. There's, like, I saw, like, a panel, a scene, a cut, whatever they're called. We're showing him just, like, 4 people at once, just hitting them. And then we see this one guy who's kind of, like, standing there, just, like, watching. He's like, oh no, I don't know if I should approach. Maybe I should approach. Alright, let me run in. And also what I noticed from this movie, anytime anyone tries to attack first, they end up losing. Unless the defender doesn't know how to defend properly. So the attacker always ends up losing. That's probably a very salient point. Ip Man attracts the attention of General. The General's like, whoa, I want him back. And you have his translator friend there. Ip Man's like, I don't want to go back. I don't want your rice. He takes the bloody rice. And the translator's like, oh yeah, he'll be back. Despite Ip Man saying otherwise. I'm like, dude, why are you lying? Why are you lying for him? Oh, I'm just a translator. I'm just here to eat. Yeah, okay. It's just my job. Yeah, many people have said that when horrible things have gone wrong. That doesn't make him less good. I mean, it doesn't make him less bad, I guess. It's awful. You probably shouldn't use that as an excuse. But, and Ip Man gives a bag of rice to the survivor families. Also, he goes to another friend who's struggling. A good old pal who has a what seems to be like a feather factory. I think it might be cotton or something. My first thought was like, are they making a bunch of pillows? Is this a pillow factory? But Jin ranshacks Ip's factory's friend, transporter. Comes back, he's like, I have your goods, now give me money. He's like, I don't have money. He even says, Ip Man, that he doesn't have money, but Ip Man's like, alright, that's fine, I don't care. That's alright. But this Jin guy, he's like, no, I will beat you up for money. But he's like, I don't have any. And I'm like, you probably should listen to him in the first place. And like, after like several beatings, he like tells you he still doesn't have any money. Like, he hasn't had any money because he hasn't had any products to sell. And of course, he's like, alright, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna come back. Ip Man shows up because somebody catches him from the factory. Someone ran from the factory, grabbed him, and he comes and he's like, alright, I'm here. And everyone wants to learn Kung Fu from him because he's a Kung Fu master. So now we get to see a cool montage of him teaching Kung Fu to like all of his factory workers. I'm like, wow, that's awesome. All those factory workers now know Kung Fu, and it's awesome. I say awesome a lot because when Jin comes back, the factory workers are able to, I wouldn't say fend for themselves because Jin is a Kung Fu master from the north versus, this is southern China, so there's different styles there, but he's still a master versus just like a few weeks of training isn't going to make you a master. And so there's a whole lot of fighting. Ip Man comes in, he's like, alright, here I am. I'm here. Please, stop the fighting. Oh, Ip Man, please challenge me to a fight. And then he does fight. Of course, Jin gets beat up yet again and retreats. Also, Ip Man is not really much of, I wouldn't say much of a fighter. But you also have his family is kind of out and about. You got a bunch of those children who are being taught Kung Fu. kind of like hanging around his kids, and they're kind of running around, and he got his kid also running around, and you have his wife up, just like up the stairs. It's like a whole corner area, and it's like a whole courtyard is what the official term is called. And there's a little opening, and this is terrifying. The child is like, bow, 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 and then we hear like somebody just like, ah yeah, bow, pow, and then you see a real gun, and it's Sato, and like this is the most insane villain entrance I've ever seen. Wow, what a contrast! What an awesome contrast between the juvenile child who doesn't know that the gun is actually a threat from a guy who shot it, who's been seen to shoot it, and Sato is like, hello, Ip Man, I'm here. Gun pointed. He looks at the wife because the wife makes a sound. She's pretty, I'm gonna go grab her! And go upstairs, but guess who gets there first? Ip Man caps him, does a whole like kicky move, bam! He falls on his face. Awesome. And then he quickly disarms all the soldiers, makes them knocked out. It's awesome. Also, there's a whole effort to find Ip Man because why hasn't he come? Why hasn't he come? Well, he's kind of hard to ask to come because he kind of beats up all of our soldiers. Ip Man really likes to beat up his soldiers. They go to the cotton factory again, and there's with a bunch of soldiers, and they're like harassing all of the factory workers. But Ip Man's like, I'm here, take me. And so they capture him, and he challenges him to a fight. Challenges the general, mind you, to a fight. And it's like, all right, I refuse to train your men. How about instead I fight you? And now it is time for the big old fight. But the big old fight hasn't started yet. Let's talk about how the general and Sato both come to Ip Man's jail cell with, well, general comes with food. Ip Man denies the food based on principle. I like his principles. And then Sato threatens to kill him if he doesn't let the general win. Then now it's time for the ultimate fight. Before I get to the final fight, one of those members who ransacked the factory the first time was actually Lin's brother, who doesn't like Lin, who Ip Man is like, alright, after being slapped about it, he's like, alright, well, here's a metal container that your brother gave you, and by the way, your kite's in there. And it's very heartfelt. I'm like, oh, so beautiful. Lost family, your brother's dead. You didn't admire his loving presence while he was alive. Now you're gonna miss him while he's dead. That's unfortunate. Now it's time for final fight. And it doesn't look like Ip Man is going easy on the general. It starts a little slow, relatively slow. Got a couple shots of getting into the general, and then the general does do his hardest, does do his best. But Ip Man, there's no match for Ip Man. He defeats the general with a bunch of punches, super fast punches. Bow, 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 bow. And then, as the crowd cheers, and he sees his wife and his son, he gets shot in the shoulder. And I only assume he didn't get shot in the head because the translator was there to push the gun away, and then point the gun, force the gun onto Sato and force him to shoot himself. But now they're running away to Hong Kong. His family specifically, his wife and son are running to Hong Kong. They were shown to be on transit, and it's really tense because it's like, oh, Ip Man, please do not lose your family. I feel like you're not going to lose, but please do not lose your family. Then they go to Hong Kong, and then there's a whole montage of like what he did towards the end of his life, which was open a bunch of schools. Like 2 million people have been taught this martial arts style, and including Bruce Lee, which is very notable because I'm sure you know who Bruce Lee is, and that's how the movie ends. That's the end of the movie. I really like this movie, all the kickiness, all the punchiness, all the kickiness some more. I hope I don't fall over this porch, this manor that's dilapidated. Ip Man's a dilapidated manor, by the way. And the cutting, I found the cutting at some points to be a little bit jarring and weird. Like there was like a transition a couple of times, like right in the middle of a conversation. Transition to, oh, there's another part. I'm like, okay, that was an interesting cut. Also, I watched the dub version, so seeing all the dubbed English over the Cantonese speaking Cantonese, that's where it comes from. It's just like the mouths are different. It's honestly hilarious just to see how the mouths are different, but that doesn't detract from the story. The story is still very moving. It's a very cozy film. I quite enjoyed it. It really made me want to do martial arts again. I mean, I've always kind of wanted to do martial arts ever since I stopped doing Taekwondo, but it made me even more want to do martial arts. And so, because it sparked my kickiness desire some more, like up to 1,000, since it was already kind of there, but from like 100. My kickiness desire from like scale of 1 to 10 was like 100, but now it's 1,000. I really want to do the kickiness and all the punchiness. Because of that, I gotta give this movie a solid 8.9 out of 10. If you liked this video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video with everyone you know. The ultimate goal of this channel is for me to become an expert movie reviewer. So, if I haven't reviewed it on the channel, there's a chance I haven't even seen it at all. So, you can request a movie in the comments below, or you can fast track a request at patreon.com/ASEPresents for $20 a month for one movie review per 1 month, or $3 a month for some daily vlogs, all at patreon.com/ASEPresents. And also, if you want to help support the daily grindiness of these movie reviews and also daily sets, go to this link tree for some NSFW content. It really helps with the daily grindiness of the channel. So go here, and until next time I'm in Salad Saw, I'll see you later, my salad croutons and bacon bits.